then it makes it that much more concerning.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Major's a really good guy.
Okay.
He's a younger head coach, but a really good person. And he would never embarrass somebody on purpose.
Gotcha.
It's not a style. It's not a style whatsoever. He's highly intelligent. Of course, he played at Texas. He was a good quarterback. He's been a good coach. So from that standpoint, Major would take the high road, no doubt about it, which he did, which he had to.
Yeah.
You got to protect your teammates. I mean, your players. You have to as a head coach. Yeah. No matter how bad the situation is, you got to protect them. But Major, he's not the guy's gonna fly off the handle and start dog cussing you and making fun of you. Nothing like that. Nothing like that at all.
Interesting. Well, I was impressed by both of them. I hope to continue to be impressed by both of them. Well, mentioned that Ed Oliver might play. Mentioned that Nick Bosa is not going to play, and of course, both teams are going to be facing rivals this week. And it kind of leads us to the last topic that I want to make sure that we touched upon is here we are, college football, rivalry week. We talked about some of our favorite rivalries in the past, Alabama, LSU being real high on our list just because of the physicality and the emotions there. But there's some monsters this week. I mean, obviously the Iron Bowl with Alabama and Auburn, the game, Ohio State and Michigan, and the Egg Bowl. Is there any of these rivalry games that you're especially looking forward to or have strong memories of?
Well, the Ohio State Michigan, really cool. And they're both. Michigan's, I guess, playing better right now, but they both have talent.
Yeah.
And, and Ohio State is in a position where they have to win, but it's like two brothers fighting. I mean, no one's going to give in.
Yeah.
You're just going to keep battling until somebody gets knocked out. And, same thing with Auburn, Alabama. I mean, you see what Auburn's done to Alabama the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, and there's marriages that end with that game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so heavy, and down south is incredible. But that Michigan-Ohio State game, I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, no, I am as well. Like you said, I think that Michigan is playing just a different level of football than Ohio State right now. But at the same time, it's kind of like what you talked about before with when we talked about the Rams and the Chiefs, and you mentioned the Saints immediately. When I look at Ohio State and Michigan, I see a better team on Michigan's sideline, but I see just as much talent on Ohio State's sideline. And then I think they have the better quarterback.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Ohio State's loaded.
They are.
Just haven't been clicking, lately.
Yeah.
And Michigan's very well coached. Harbaugh does a great job.
He does.
But yeah, no. Talent-wise, if you go man for man, Ohio State's more talent.
Yeah. And so that to me is what sets it up as a fascinating game. I mean, I thought that Dwayne Haskins this last week, he had a spectacular game. He was in his, it was one of those games where basically there was added emotion because he was in his home state and then had played as well as he did. To me, showed a lot of those intangibles that we talked about before that we feel like are so important at the quarterback position. So he's a player. I'm still really intrigued by Justin Herbert, the quarterback at Oregon, all the physical traits in the world, but I do want to see a little bit more finish to him. Haskins finished. And so that's why I'm intrigued by it. And I did not think I would be saying that about a redshirt sophomore quarterback, but he is definitely moving up, at least my personal board, as the season goes on. And so that's why I'm so fascinated to see how he's going to do against Don Brown's defense for Michigan and see if he can handle just that much more of a stage. So really interested to see that game. And then here locally, Washington State. I know the Apple Cup. A lot of people nationally speaking, all they think about is if Washington State wins, can they put themselves into the mix for the playoff? And frankly, I'm going to lose some people who who maybe follow my stuff here in the state. I don't think that Washington State deserves to be in the top 4 conversation, but I think they are absolutely among the top 10 best teams in the country. And if they win this game, I think that they should have an opportunity to perhaps play, obviously, for the Pac-12 championship, but also for the Rose Bowl, for a big-time game. Because this is a lot better team than I had initially given them credit for. Gardner Minshew, the quarterback, of course, gets all the attention. But there's a lot of talent on this team. And that defense it's the best defense I've seen in Pullman, 20 years or so. Certainly in Mike Leach's era. And so I think that's going to be a fascinating game as well. A lot of future NFL talent on that team, on both those sidelines as well.
No doubt about it. I'm with you. Washington State's always Washington State, and of course, going into the season, everybody had Washington as a top 10 team. Hands down, they got a chance to play for the playoff and all that, which they are a talented team. But Washington State's been incredible.
Yeah.
What Leach done, it's incredible. That quarterback's playing well, like you said. Guys around him are playing well. It's fun to watch. That's what's so cool about college football. You never quite know. The NFL, you got a pretty good idea, going into the season, who's going to be up there, who's not going to be up there. But with college football, you never know. And Washington State's been lights out. I'm glad for them. I mean, that's cool. Young guys deserve that stuff. But Washington's still a good team too.
No, they are. To me, there's a lot of similarities between the Apple Cup, Washington State, and and Ohio State and Michigan, just because there's definitely one team that's coming in that is playing better. But like you said, it's like two brothers going up against each other. It doesn't matter who was playing better before. They're going to get the best show. And so that's going to be fascinating. I'm really looking. To me, it's the funnest week. I take this over the bowl games, just because of the emotions of the game. And it actually kind of leads me to my last question, is that from a scouting perspective, I mean, think back to when you were just a area scout all the way up to GM. Do scouts, do you guys take this more seriously as a rivalry game, or is this just another game when you're scouting?
It depends who's playing who. If you're watching Auburn, Alabama, yeah, it's a big time thing. If you're watching Ohio State, Michigan, yeah, because like you said, the emotions are so high. Especially if you're watching like a quarterback, and see how he responds when things go south.
Yeah.
You go to the sideline, what happens on the sideline, type of thing. But it's still another game. It's a piece of the puzzle. You want to see good versus good, because that helps you out on the prospect.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of games that Alabama's played, that Auburn's played, Ohio State's played, and Michigan's played against other good teams too during the season. So it's not like you put more emphasis on it, but you definitely want to watch it.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Is there any player that you remember over the years that had such an incredible game in the in a rivalry game that just made him shine that much more for you? And as you're thinking about it, I'll give you one for me. So Tim Biakabatuka, we're going back years, but the running back at Michigan, and he tore up Ohio State years ago. And I just remember watching that game because I grew up a little bit of an Ohio State fan because my brother was a little bit of a Michigan fan. And so I have no ties to the university or the Buckeyes in any other way other than I want, my team to beat my brother's team. But Tim Biakabatuka that day, I just thought, wow, that's an NFL running back right there. And obviously he wound up going the first round of the Panthers that year. But, it was a guy that really jumped out at me. And then the other one I'd mention again, kind of going back here locally, Vita Vea a year ago was the first time I'd ever gone to the Apple Cup and be on the field in person and kind of got to look in the eyes of some of the players before the game itself. And Vita, big, happy Pacific Islander kind of a guy, and he was just laughing and joking and didn't look like he was intense at all. And I thought, wow, where's the intensity? Come on, this is a big game. But once they snapped the ball, then he basically ate Luke Falk and the Cougars, for breakfast that day. So it's one of those things that I do take these rivalry games a little bit more serious than I do others. Is there anybody that jumped out at you?
Well, I wasn't scouting yet, but I was at the game live. It would be Keith Jackson, the tight end from Oklahoma against Nebraska. The guy ran in reverse. He ran for like 50 yards. Tight end. I never seen a tight end
big
before,
tight end.
Reverse.
Yeah, I mean, he was probably 6'5", 260 or so. He's a big boy.
Oh yeah, no, he was big, but it's unique just seeing it. But I got a lot of guys I could mention, but that was very impressive to me. And I'm probably 15 years old or 10 years. I was probably 12. I don't know.
Yeah.
But just because that was a huge rivalry.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, Nebraska. Again, we talked about it before, but to see Keith Jackson just kind of take it over. And Oklahoma beat him in Lincoln that year, and they weren't supposed to. But to see Keith Jackson do what he did that game was amazing.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Well, that about wraps it up for this week. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the Instinctive Scouting Podcast. This, as I mentioned, this episode and prior episodes are always available for free and immediate download at NFLDraftScout.com. You can also check us out on Spreaker.com or iHeartMedia. For Scot McCloughan, this is Rob Rang signing off on the ISP. Catch you next week.